So my name is Kim Longo. I'm the band director at Goshen High School here, and that was our clarinet ensemble. We have like 10 small group ensembles that rehearse after school, all volunteer, and that one. So that was the clarinet ensemble, and then we have our saxophone ensemble, which is going to play a song that you'll probably recognize. We call Yakety Sax.
very much, Mrs. Longo and students. That was a wonderful performance. And we're just going to take a few more minutes here before we get started, and we'll get going shortly. Thank you. All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District being held on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025 in the District Administration Building. Will you please join me in the pledge?
Liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to get started here with a very exciting part of our evening, our tenure appointments. We're going to turn it over to Dr. Coates.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. So I want to welcome our very large class of tenure candidates this evening. We actually have 14 employees who will be receiving tenure tonight. We could not be more glad to not only welcome our tenure candidates, but their families and their loved ones. Before I turn it over to Dr. Carter, I just want to talk about the tenure process for a minute. Tenure is not just a reflection on accomplishments to date. It is a look into the future as well. The district takes this process seriously. All of you know from the tenure process that you've gone through with your principals and your administrators what's entailed. This is not just about student accomplishments in terms of grades and numbers on a sheet of paper. It's about the care that you give to students beyond the classroom. It's about the care that you give to students with the needs that they have when they come from home. It's about every little aspect of what you know about them and how to make sure that they can achieve their absolute best. The district takes this process seriously, and we know that your investment not only is celebrated tonight, but it looks into the future for the rest of your careers here in the Goshen Central School District. So before I turn it over to Dr. Carter, I want to be the first to offer to all of our tenure candidates tonight a heartfelt congratulations, and we look forward to celebrating with all of you. So Mr. Carter, I'm going to turn it over to you to start the process.
Thank you, Dr. Coates. Good evening, everyone. As Dr. Coates had mentioned, we have 14 wonderful individuals here this evening that we will recommend to the board for tenure. I've had a chance to work closely with each of these individuals throughout their 3 or 4 years of probation. Along with our administrative team, we believe that they are truly wonderful and an asset to the district. And so without delay, I'd like to welcome Dr. Hendershot to the podium with Dr. Aaron Heil from PPS, school psychologist.
Should know this by now. Good evening. It is my pleasure to present to you tonight Dr. Erin Heil. Dr. Heil comes to us from the Rye School District. She's been with us for several years. She's a licensed school psychologist. She is a nationally certified school psychologist. She is a school neuropsychologist as well, and has been a welcomed addition to our department. Dr. Heil has performed professional development for our school psychologists, for our special education teachers within the district, and is one of the few that I know that truly loves to analyze data. She's been a wonderful addition. I look forward to so many more years learning from her and her expertise. She's just been an asset to our district.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. Heil, stay up for your formal resolution.
I'm so sorry. I want to go first. I don't know how it goes. Thank you.
I need a motion to approve tenure candidate Aaron Heil. John and Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Aaron Heil in the tenure area of school psychologist effective September 1st, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
I'd now like to ask Mr. Pantaleone, high school principal, to join Dr. Hendershot as we present Emil Musa, Goshen High School special education teacher.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to present Mr. Emil Musa. Emil is a dedicated professional in the special education realm. He's also holds multiple certification to show his really dedication to be a lifelong learner. And just some observations in my classroom workings with Mr. Musa, you instantaneously see the student engagement that goes on, his depth use of technology to really work with all learners, and the rapport that he has with all his students. And beyond the school day, he was instrumental in really having our chess team really just reemerge as a popular extracurricular activity and interest in starting a debate team, and works with our students in the evening high school program. And back to our students, they were kind when I spoke with them, and really just sharing some few words, if you just allow me to share some of your students, Mr. Musa. So one student shared, Mr. Musa is incredibly dedicated, always making learning engaging and clear, truly cares about every student's success. His passion support creates a classroom where everyone feels encouraged to do their best, and that's from Olivia. Next up is Mr. Musa. Thank you for all your ability to crack a joke in all situations, which is much needed. You're one of the kindest teachers I've had, and I'm so glad I've been having you as a teacher, and that's from Marley. And last is Grace shared. Mr. Musa is an amazing teacher, very kind, funny, always keeping class fun and interesting. One of my favorites. Mr. Musa is a great guy. And lastly, one of his students congratulated it on his 10-year award. Emil hasn't been with us that long, but he'll get there. We're just happy to have him in addition to our staff.
Need a motion to approve tenure candidate Emil Musa. Billy and Shannon. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Emil Musa in the tenure area of special education effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'd like to ask Mrs. Kristen Driscoll, principal of Scotchtown Avenue School, to join Dr. Hendershot as we present Casey Sidarno.
Good evening, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to bring Mrs. Casey Sidardo up here to recommend her for tenure. Mrs. Sidardo is a licensed clinical social worker that has been working at SAS and GIS since she came to the Goshen Central School District. She is hardworking, caring, and truly puts the needs of her students above her own needs, even sometimes. She has worked closely with our PTO to spearhead our backpack program, which makes sure that every student in need goes home with food on the weekends to make sure that no student in our buildings have any food insecurities. She is calm and dedicated and never lets anything even faze her or never lets us see it anyway. She works closely with our students in both small group as well as pushes into classrooms and truly cares about each and every one of her students that she works for. And I couldn't have every day go by without her help and support. So I wholeheartedly recommend her for tenure.
I need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Casey Sidardo. Brett Ashley. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Casey Sidardo in the tenure area of social work effective September 27th, 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We now present Johanna Aegis.
Ms. Johanna Aegis is one of our fabulous second grade teachers at Scotchtown Avenue School. She is both duly certified in both elementary education as well as special education, which she fully puts into her classroom each and every day. When you walk into her classroom, you can tell that her instruction is totally individualized for each of the students in her classes. Her warmth and her caring about her students comes through each one of her lessons. When you walk into her room, her classroom management skills are top notch. Her class knows all of her routines and expectations, and you can feel the warmth when you walk in there. When you go in there, her students are excited to share what she is doing with them because she has given them that confidence and that strength to share what they're working on because she shows that they are truly important and she cares about them. So I wholeheartedly recommend Ms. Johanna Aegis for tenure.
Need a motion to approve tenure candidate Johanna Aegis. Brett and Scott. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Johanna Aegis in the tenure area of elementary education effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Next, we welcome Kelly Bowles.
Ms. Bowles is also one of our fabulous second grade teachers. She is a Goshen resident and came through the Goshen School District. She is a elementary educator as well as works with our ENL population. She has the ability to really adapt her classroom to meet not only the academic but the social emotional needs of her students in her classroom. She cares about each one of her kids, and when she comes to our building MTSS meetings, you can tell that she knows each one of her students inside and out because of the detail and how she goes into not only what they need academically, but what they need social emotionally as well. She is a tech guru in our building. She puts together PD for the district, working with Mr. Rediger, as well as comes with all of her detailed notes, all electronically organized, which I'm always impressed by. She is a lifelong learner. Whenever we have conversations about instruction, she comes with ideas, she asks questions, and she is an educator that will continue to grow because she loves it and she loves what she does. So I definitely recommend Ms. Bowles for tenure.
We need a motion to approve tenure candidate Kelly Bowles. Ashley. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves tenure candidate Kelly Bowles in the tenure area of elementary education effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
We now have Mr. Andrew O'Neill, music teacher, Scottsdale.
Mr. O'Neill is our music teacher at Scotchtown Avenue School. He comes to us and works with our kindergarten through second grade students and truly shows them a love for music. When you walk into his classroom, not only do you see them playing all different instruments through his Tinkertars that he brought into us this year, but he also has the ability to bring in technology into all of his lessons. He makes his lessons cool by bringing in the cool music videos, as well as makes them engaging. He has the ability to infuse social emotional learning into his music because he does daily check-ins and always makes sure that his students are ready to learn when they're in there. He is very well organized and organizes both our kindergarten festival, our second grade moving up music concert, as well as our first grade concerts. And if you've had the pleasure of being at any of those concerts, he has the ability to take these tiny little voices and make them into a loud and exciting and passionate concert. And that's because of his hard work and dedication. So I recommend Mr. Andrew O'Neill for tenure.
Need a motion to approve tenure candidate Andrew O'Neill. Shannon. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Andrew O'Neill in the tenure area of music effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
And our final tenure candidate from Scottsdale Avenue School, Tracy Trevora, teaching assistant.
Ms. Trevora is one of our wonderful teaching assistants that we have at Scotchtown Avenue. She is thoughtful and kind and super supportive in the settings that she works at. She works very collaboratively with the teachers and the support staff that's in that room to ensure that all the students that are there are getting all of their needs met. She develops and facilitates lessons in all subject areas and supports instruction not only through the lessons that she has, but definitely takes a hands-on approach. She gets to know what the students likes and infuses that into her lessons. In one of the lessons that I saw, she was bringing in all different types of cartoon characters because that's what the student really enjoyed. And that was able to engage him back into the lesson and not only allow him to learn the instruction, but also keep him engaged throughout the entire lesson. She's super flexible and works with our staff. And if something changes, which it often does in our special education room, she's able to roll with that and never lets it show. So because of all of those reasons, I think that she would be a wonderful candidate for tenure.
Need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Tracy Trevora. We have Brett and Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Tracy Trevora in the tenure area of teaching assistant, effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
We will now have Mr. Pantaleon come back to the podium and present, starting with Jennifer Messina, Art Department, Goshen High School.
Good evening again. It's my pleasure to present Ms. Casino. One of the things that really struck me working Ms. Casino that our classrooms are extremely dynamic to the fact that when you go into her room, you can see when she's having her students work on ceramics, she's infusing Renaissance art into the lessons. So you see that cross-curricular just experience that's just amazing for our students. And she's also a student of the game. When she's not shipping her son around to basketball practice and many tournaments, she's at ceramic classes herself, trying to bring more and more to our students. And under her direction in the last few years, our students have flourished, winning awards such as from OBA, ADAC, if you look around the walls from our recent bus poster presentation, not only traditional art of painting, but also in the digital format, which she's really taken and ran within the last year. And along with that, she's one of our advisors for our OBA, participates in Evening High School program. And today, in speaking with some of our students, just having some heartfelt conversations, that Ms. Casino is passionate about art, and that passion spreads to all of her students. She always tells us you don't need to be perfect, but you need to try. And we do try, and we always do our best for Mrs. C. That's from St. Anne. And also one of our new students, been in school a month, and speaking with Jaden, Ms. Casino's funny, kind, inspired me to get back into art. Once he transitioned in, he found his lost love. And I didn't tell anyone when he came out as an artist. Ms. Casino really revitalized that love and passion. So I wholeheartedly recommend Ms. Casino for tenure.
Need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Jennifer Casino. We have John and Ashley. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Jennifer Casino in the tenure area of art, effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Next, from the Goshen High School Business Department, we have Lisa Lupkovich.
My pleasure to welcome Ms. Lupkovich here, as the kids kindly refer to as Ms. Lup. One thing when you have interaction with Ms. Lupkovich, you can just see her energy and passion, and she's like the Energizer rabbit, always working on something. And so as a business teacher, she teaches a range of classes and also at the college level, but she's also involved in such extracurricular activities such as our junior class advisor. She formed our first ever Business and Marketing Honor Society and held 2 inductions to date and really inspired students to really engage in that business field. And the field trips that she runs gives students real life experiences such as MetLife, Amazon. And so she's always planning, coordinating great things for our students. As our evening high school coordinator, she works with our neediest students and puts schedules together like readings review and meets with them on a daily basis, just making sure they get what they need. And one of the things that really struck me is just how her students react. And one such student is here tonight, Sean, and I'll just read a few words that you shared. As a new advisor, Ms. Lupkovich provided all students, including myself, with the opportunity to be part of the new Business and Marketing Honor Society. We went on awesome field trips, MetLife, and for the Jets, not Giants, Business Day, which has increased my passion to study sports. I'm thankful to have Ms. Lupkovich as a teacher and mentor at Goshen High School. Thank you, Sean. Next, Hensi Bonilla shared Ms. Lupkovich, hands down, is the most important impactful teacher that I had ever while being a student at Goshen High School. She taught me things like leadership, kindness, and having a mentality to work harder. And then finally, Alicia Oliveira shared, When I first entered Ms. Lepkovich's class, I was unready for the impact she would have on me. As my business teacher, she helped me grow more passionate and confident about my future. She made me realize that I want to pursue something in business, but her encouragement pushed me to believe I can actually succeed. So as you can see, evidence from our students, one here being here tonight, and the many that she impacts every day. She's not only an inspiring teacher, she's also an inspiring person. I wholeheartedly recommend her for tenure.
We need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Lisa Lukovich with Billy and Shannon. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Lisa Lukovich in the tenure area of business education, effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Our final candidate from Goshen High School, from the Science Department, Liana Rodelli.
Ms. Rodelli, amazing teacher, physics, and arguably teaches one of the hardest classes in AP Physics. And just the adoration and love your students show for you is just unparalleled. If I could describe my interaction with Leanna from the classroom or seeing her in the hall, she's dedicated. She stays long after the school day, into the evening, working with students, engaging activities such as pumpkin drops in the fall or sledding during the winter, using video analysis to look at trajectory. And you can see, other than our custodians, which we had to put a tarp on for 1 year, but each year it gets better and better. And not only that, Ms. Bowles is here this evening. Congratulations. One thing that Ms. Rodelli has implemented is connecting with Ms. Bowles and going down to SAS to encourage our students and our young girls to have a passion for STEM. And one wanted to be an astrophysicist, I believe. And just to have that vertical articulation from the elementary school to our high school, that's why we're all here. And outside of the classroom, her work as a yearbook advisor, she jumps on ladders all the time. And sometimes we have to make sure she has a spotter to catch the classic pictures. She's at every event. And with our trial club, Crafted with Kindness, all the money they've donated from our T Swift night and from our concessions have gone to local community charities. And in terms of our students, this is from Dalton. AP Physics was probably my most difficult course that I and my classmate have ever taken, but the hardships were all made tolerable by Ms. Rodelli's incredible teaching. And Gigi shared Ms. Rodelli's genuine care for my classmate, and I was evident as she consistently celebrated our progress and worked tirelessly to guide us through what is known to be the most difficult subject at Goshen High School. And then Izzy shared, Ms. Rodelli has impacted me far beyond the classroom these past 9 months. She showed me how to be a better version of myself, one with more persistence, empathy, and a harder work ethic. I could imagine this year without Ms. Rodelli as a teacher. I'm so grateful to have learned so much for such a great person. And then full disclosure, one student actually went to the extent to write a tenure recommendation himself. I'm sure she'd be okay with poets, but if it's an extra one, but I wholeheartedly recommend Ms. Rodelli.
We need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Liana Rodelli. Scott and Brett. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Liana Rodelli in the tenure area of physics, effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Moving on to CJ Hooker Middle School, I'd like to have Dr. Weber approach the podium to present impact music teacher, CJ Hooker Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to congratulate all the tenure candidates, and I would say that I don't think we can't get past this night without remembering that all of these candidates came into us like in that weird time moving through all the COVID everything. So they have all done an amazing job. Mr. Pact, so shows his enthusiasm and his passion for his craft and his students every day. Students first, music second. close second, right? No, he is a master of his craft, but he just loves sharing the passion with his kids, and you can see it not just walking into his classroom, but when he has the kids out playing, whether it's out in public, down at the elementary schools, in the lobby, at the holidays, or during the concerts, and his sense of humor to really relate with the kids is just amazing. He coordinates a lot of our music departments, works with the K through 12 music faculty, coordinating things like NISMA and all those music events, right, for ACME and everything. He does lab band after school. He was very took the initiative this year to approach us and ask how he could work some kids in who, again, they didn't have, maybe they missed it during some of the COVID years, or they really wanted to start playing an instrument or a new instrument. And he's been great at starting them at their level and really personalizing their instruction to get them into the larger groups as soon as they were ready to. So we are very happy to have Andrew as part of our faculty, and I'm happy to present him for his recommendation for tenure.
Need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Andrew Pact. John and Ashley. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Andrew Pact in the tenure area of music, effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Next, we have Mike Perez in the art department at Cedar River Middle School.
Mr. Perez, he has been such a fresh breath in the art department. He has introduced several new, really relatable, unique and engaging projects for the kids. You walk in and just see how the kids love the art and what he brings to it. He has guided and supported students to win several awards at many art competitions, such as the Scholastic Art Awards, the Olympic of Visual Arts. He originated, right, the Goshen pin design contest, where the students design a pin and we get to vote on which is the winner, and then the proceeds help to raise funds for the program support. He's also been the head of many other fundraising activities, especially the popcorn one, which everybody loves, right? The popcorn, which raises a lot of money. But lots of art events, the Festival of the Arts, our recycled furniture auction. And he has proven himself to be a lifelong learner himself. He and I have had several conversations about continuing his education. He's always pursuing different art and technological opportunities, and we are very happy to recommend him for his tenure appointment.
I need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Shannon Billy. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Michael Perez in the tenure area of art, August 31st, 2025. All those in favor? Congratulations.
We now present Samantha Perego from the science department.
So Sam came to us, right, the height of COVID time, did her student teaching as well as her first year of teaching all in one fell swoop, and you wouldn't know it. She's a natural born teacher. It just, she can relate to the students. She's definitely a master of her content. She is definitely student first, science second. Close second, we need the science, but she definitely gets to know her students very well. I've been in her classroom where she does like little fun activities to help her students even get to know each other a little bit better, making sure she's doing check-ins to make sure that the kids are okay and that they can sit in her class and are ready to learn. Very engaging, fun activities. I've been in there. We were building, there's the circuits, yeah, last year when we were in there and I was building them. The kids knew exactly what they were doing and everything. She's just great at leading and supporting all that, helping the children learn through their curiosity and inquiry. She also heads up our homework club for the 8th grade, and the 8th graders are not easy to get to homework club. I would just say that. There's lots of announcements and chasing down the halls for them. But she gets them there. Also, a lot of her free periods are spent with, either Earth Science Lab students or just students for extra help. Sometimes we call and say, oh, can you cover a class? I can't, I have my kids. Like, we understand. So she is just a pleasure to have at CJ Hooker, and she is just really outdone herself. And we are proud to present her for her tenure appointment.
We need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Samantha Parega. Scott and Brett. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Samantha Parega in the tenure area of science, effective August 31st, 2025. All those in favor? Congratulations.
And the final tenure candidate this evening, Sarah Tierney, school counselor, CJ Hooker Middle School.
Sarah has been a wonderful addition to our counseling department at CJ Hooker Middle School, as well as, I would say, district-wide. I know she collaborates with support personnel in all the buildings. She is definitely a team collaborator. She is the person that you can go to when everybody else says no way. So make sure I'll do it. Sometimes I'm just like, you're putting a little too much on your plate, Sarah. But she's very enthusiastic and passionate about everything that she does. But she is especially enthusiastic and passionate about children and their well-being as well as their school environment. She is top-notch at trying to really build up a very safe and inclusive and loving culture at CJ Hooker. She has been instrumental in implementing our Choose Love curriculum at the middle school level with the curriculum, as well as this year with the Choose Love Ambassadors. She's been cooperating with GIS, Choose Love Ambassadors Club, and they even go down to, she walks the middle school kids down to, up to GIS. And they've been doing fundraisers and just all sorts of things for the Choose Love Ambassadors Club. And those students themselves are really putting themselves out there to really improve where they their own environment around them. She is just irreplaceable. She does the school, she does a lot of mediations with the kids. She really works on that restorative justice, and she does everything from the heart. And we are proud to have her join us and happy to present her for her tenure recommendation.
Need a motion to appoint tenure candidate Sarah Tierney, Ashley and John. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the tenure appointment of Sarah Tierney in the tenure area of guidance, effective September 1st, 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
So to all of our tenure candidates, again, a heartfelt congratulations. And I challenge all of you tonight to remember that this is just a beginning. This is a beginning of the rest of your career, hopefully here in Goshen. There are generations of students to come. If you stay long enough with us, you will see children. One of our tenure candidates tonight, I was their high school principal. It happens so often. Congratulations, and we are so very proud of what you have accomplished and look forward to everything that you will do in the years to come.
we have a motion to take a brief recess? Congratulate the candidates. Scott, all in favor? Aye. Actually, All right, we need a motion to reconvene the meeting. Shannon and Millie, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, moving on. Our next order of business, the president's report. Just wanted to give a quick update on some of the things that the board has going on here. We're continuing our search for an interim superintendent. We've received approximately 19 applications. So we've got a lot of interest already, with about another 10 days to go in the submission of the application process, and then the board will start setting up interviews. We've also sent out an RFP for the search firm that we have been discussing, with the modifications that have been recommended on the timeline to try to move that up a bit from the meeting last time around. We've sent that out to 15 RFPs have been sent out, and 6 letters of interest have been received already, so that's moving forward. The 29th, the RFPs are due, and then between June 2nd and the 16th, we will start search firm interviews as well. So that's what we have moving in that area. Just a quick thank you to everybody in the community that exercised their right to vote. Successfully, we had the budget passed, so thank you to everybody out there for that. Another thank you for all of the staff and volunteers that made the Special Olympics event here in Goshen what it was. It was outstanding. It was a well-oiled machine. Just students and teachers and administrators from all over, our area came through and really pulled together a tremendous event. So great job to everybody. And again, just a quick congratulations for all the student achievements over the past week. A couple more performances, a couple of teams and individuals moving into sections on the athletics front. So don't want to say too much that Francesca might mention. So just a quick congratulations to everybody. Well, and that will end my report. All right, moving on to the student representatives report. Jessica Zaccaro.
Thank you. There are only a few updates to share tonight. Like Mr. Loftus said, this past Saturday, the 9th annual Special Olympics took place at GHS. The event was a great success, filled with teamwork and community support. Congratulations to all the participants. Last night, the GHS Awards Night took place. Students were honored for academic excellence, leadership, and special achievements. Congratulations to all who attended. At this time, there are no current updates for CJ Hooker. At GIS, the school's annual talent show will be taking place May 30th at 6 p.m. And lastly, this past week at SAS was Career Week. Students had the opportunity to learn about different career paths and even dress up to represent the professions that they are interested in. Thank you and have a good Memorial Day weekend.
All right, thank you, Francesca. Always appreciate it when you cover all the schools and let us know what's happening there. That's fantastic. All right, do we have any other board member, committee, legislative, or OXPA updates? All right, very good. Policy, did everybody have an opportunity to read the policy submitted as presented this evening? Fantastic, great. So then we'll turn it over to Dr. Coates again for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. So before I get into the printed items of my report, I too want to offer my thanks to the community. When the community comes out to approve a budget, it is not only just a fiscal approval, it's an approval of a lot of the work that all of our staff do, our administrators, our teachers, our support staff, our bus drivers, our food service workers, and it allows us to continue the good work that we can do for the community. So to all those, thank you so much for coming out to vote. I also too want to give accolades to everything that happened this past weekend for the Special Olympics. It was over a year of planning between the baton figuratively getting passed from the Middletown City School District to our collaboration with Orange Ulster BOCES. And it is a 2-year commitment, so we'll be back again next year and the planning has already started. So I want to partner in the next part of my report with Ms. Van Holt-Lamarand. I think it's important that we discuss, now that the state budget has formally been approved, what is new in the state budget, what does that mean for Goshen, and what are some of the pending changes that the district will have to prepare for over the next few months. And we'll start right on the fiscal side of the house to begin with. So as we've discussed, we know that the governor had proposed a minimum of 2% foundation aid for all school districts throughout New York State. When the legislature first made its proposal, it talked about another 1% in foundation aid as a possibility. Unfortunately, where the reconciliation came, Goshen only received an additional received the original 2%, which meant approximately 480,000 for us, for additional revenue for this year. So what we had proposed to the board, what was adopted by the board, is exactly where we landed. We won't have any additional revenue that we were hoping for to see from New York State. I'm gonna turn it over to Mrs. Lamoran. She's gonna talk a little bit about some of the changes that we are watching very closely in terms of foundation aid and some of our expense-driven aids. And we're gonna partner just on some of the other items that have come up in this budget reconciliation and some of the work that will lie ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Coates. So for foundation aid, again, to reiterate, we are receiving the 2% increase for the state finalist districts. And the Rockefeller study is going to continue with the foundation aid formula, so there'll be more to come on that in the next year. Expense-driven aids, I've mentioned a little bit at the public hearing at the last meeting. The BOCES able portion of salaries is set at a cap of $30,000 right now. And next year for 25-26, that cap will go up to $40,000. So if you have a shared service where you share an employee through BOCES, the salary for that cap is going to increase $10,000 and we will receive aid back on that in the following year. So we have to spend it to get it. So in 26-27, we could see a slight increase in there for what we subscribe to. And then they're gonna follow it up in the next 2 years, following 2 years by $10,000 each until it reaches $50,000 for the cap. And that's, excuse me, 60,000 for the cap in 28-29. And that's something our organization, New York State ASBO, has been pushing for, I'm sure, as well as NISBA. And that is one of the things that they're finally putting through, and we're happy to see that. Next, I have the internet device ban, and I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Coates for that.
So, and just as one point of clarification on expense-driven aid through BOCES, we do subscribe to our public information specialist, and that is a full-time employee assigned here, so we will benefit from that aid moving forward. So we had convened earlier this year a stakeholder committee to look at the possibility of restricting the use of cell phones. We were monitoring very closely the governor's announcement that she wanted to pass legislation that would restrict use of cell phones, as she had purported that she was monitoring around other states around the country. We did not know what that legislation would look like. We now have that in hand, and it is truly a bell-to-bell ban. So we are going to reconvene our stakeholder committee. Our stakeholder committee had an opportunity already to speak with the enlarged city school district of Middletown directly. We had a great evening where we were able to speak with students, teachers, administrators, board members from Middletown. As a reminder, they had moved forward previously using devices to restrict the use of phones. They do use the under pouch there. We are going to pull our committee back together and talk about the path forward and what that looks like. By August 1st, the board will have to update its current policy to reflect the current changes in law. We are looking very closely. The governor has spoken about some funding being available for implementation of the use of devices. We want to look very closely at what's available and look at if the district moves forward with spending anything to implement this device ban, what are the really long-term legacy costs of what that would look like. So we're not exactly sure what would be available to us. We're waiting to see those allocations just yet. Again, not suggesting that we do or do not. We just, when we come back together, want to be able to have clear conversations with the stakeholder committee and be able to make good recommendations to the board at the same time. I'm going to pass the baton back to Mrs. Lamoran for one of the very popular conversations, zero emission buses, that there was actually some movement on in this budget. And Ms. Lamoran is going to talk through some of what we are watching as changes.
Yes, thank you. There is some relief because they're going to issue a maximum of 2 extensions for 24 months each. And that will bring us out to the year 2031 if we needed to apply for these extensions in order to comply with the requirements of zero emission buses. NYSERDA will be the ones approving these extensions after meeting with the districts and reviewing our plan. And just as a reminder, we're currently working with CPL Team Architects on a fleet electrification plan, which also looks at the infrastructure to see what we will need to do to be prepared for this. So by having that report in hand, that is certainly going to help us what we need to, should we need to apply for an extension, which I imagine we will. There's a lot of changes we have to make for that and a lot of money involved. And those extensions are due by December 31st. I've already marked the calendar to stay on top of that. And they are saying in the state budget that there's up to $100 million for the purchase of buses or the conversion over to the electric charging stations that are required for the infrastructure. So at least there has been some movement on that this year. We're pleased to see that.
And we do have, as a reminder, we do have our first 2 electric buses finally on site here in the district. And literally as we speak, the first training is going on at the bus garage right now with emergency services and with some of our drivers as well. I know that the bus garage is working diligently to get those buses on the road and ready so that we can start to see how they work, where we need to make changes and where we might need to adjust. One of the disappointing pieces that we were watching in this legislation was the potential of looking at other clean energy. Legislation did not change to reflect that, but I'm sure continued advocacy will still be on the horizon because I think there's some concern still over manufacturing timeline, and even with the extension of up to 4 years to 31, we alone have close to 50 to 66 passenger buses, and it took us almost 2 years to get 2 buses. So we're gonna watch that very closely. So the next item that we wanted to discuss openly was universal pre-K. So as we had discussed during the budget process, one of the things that we were watching very closely is the allocation per pupil for us to have a universal, or all districts to have a universal pre-K program. And districts all throughout New York State have shared that the allocation that we receive is still somewhat low. And there was a lot of advocacy in both houses of the legislature to try to move that allocation or to at least modify some of the funding that was currently available. Unfortunately, there was no change to the language for universal pre-K. The allocation still is as it stood in prior legislation. And I know that Ms. Lamoran and Dr. Carter are ready this summer, as we have to by contract, to do another RFP for agencies to submit proposals to the district to have an opportunity to continue our universal pre-K program. We'll have to look very closely at what the implications of having multiple providers if we do receive multiple submissions to the district. But from the state perspective, there was no changes in this budget on universal pre-K funding. I'm going to turn it back to Ms. Lamoran to talk a little bit about some of the STAR income changes that would affect members of the community.
So for STAR income changes, only one of the residents in the home needs to be 65 or older for the enhanced STAR to take effect. That's a change. Also, the income of the owners who primarily reside on the property, which I don't know that that's so much of a change. I just think that they're making sure it's clearer language. And they are changing the date as a residency date as of July 1. So before we used to get the changes in the title of people when they're selling their home, they would send us a form that we had to fill out and do back taxes for if it was in the middle of the year. Now they're gonna have that date set, so that'll help us with the rolls, the tax rolls as well, when we set the tax levy for moving forward. So that's a helpful change, nothing major there.
Next piece is something very important for our secondary students, and our school nurses, I'm sure, will appreciate this, and we're gonna have to see how the logistics of this rolls out. Right now, if a student wants to get a part-time job, they have to go to the school nurse, they have a paper application, the nurse has to check their physical. This whole process will now be digitized. We don't know who's going to take it over, whether it's going to be the Department of Health, where it's going to go through, but the whole process will be digitized from there. Next big piece that we had been watching throughout the year to see if we became eligible was universal free school meals. This budget supports for all school districts that participate in the National School Lunch Program, universal free school breakfast and lunch for all students. The way that we're currently reading the legislation is that all school districts must maximize their federal aid first towards free school lunches. And then beyond that, the state will make districts whole through local funding. This does not include any a la carte items. It does not include any extra lunches or breakfast items. It includes one meal at breakfast and one meal at lunchtime. We have started the additional application processes that are necessary to be eligible. Mr. Isaac, our food service director, is keeping both of us very well informed on what he's doing. We get copied on all the emails that go through. We have met with our food service director to talk about capacity to store food, staffing. Are we going to be able to meet increased demand? One of the things that we talked about was what is our average take on lunch right now? How many students are actually taking a school lunch? He believes that we run anywhere from about 40 to 45% of our student population, and only sees that increasing about 10% even with the universal free school meals. At that point, he said he believes with current staff that he can just shift some hours to be able to accommodate their need. I watch it very closely. You know, if it goes beyond 60, 70, 80%, obviously we'll have to reevaluate. But our ability to store food, to be able to prepare and to serve the meals, he does believe that we are in a good place to be able to accommodate for that. A lot of the work that is a little bit more challenging happens behind the scenes, and it will happen with applications to both the federal and the state government to make sure that we're ready to maximize the aid needed to fund this program.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're actually applying for an equipment grant that just came out recently. And while we can't get a large amount of equipment, but if we could get a slicer and make sandwiches quicker and do things better for the kids, like salad bars or whatnot, healthier food, and as well as moving them quicker through the line, that's our goal. So I'll keep you posted if we get the grant, fingers crossed, and try our best.
Then the very last major legislative change that I wanted to bring to your attention was in the area of substantial equivalency. Right now, we have 3 private schools in the school district that we have to monitor for substantial equivalency. Mr. Carter and I have actually gone out, Dr. Carter and I have actually gone out to all of those schools and met with those principals. And one school, actually, we had to do a full review on, which entailed us spending pretty much the whole day at that private school to go through all the documentation that's required. Now that we finished this, they've changed the rules again. So there was a very prescribed 7-set option of rules for schools to meet substantial equivalency. They've opened that wider. I actually received a memo from SED yesterday, basically SED admitting they don't know what this means yet. This was done legislatively without any consultation for SED. We believe that we're okay for the existing time period. 2 of our schools met it very clearly because they go through state testing. And the other school, we sent actually a whole binder full of information to the state demonstrating that we believe that private school met substantial equivalency. Again, this was the concern shared by all school superintendents. We're very fortunate that we only have 3 schools in our district. There are districts that have 40, 50, 60 private schools within their school district, and there's no additional aid, there's no additional funding. School districts are responsible for trying to meet that. I don't know if the changes that were made legislatively are intended to make that process a little bit easier, but again, it's just something to monitor going forward. Very last piece, just now that the budget is approved, previously at board meetings, the board had approved numerous secret resolutions for the $1.75 million transfer to capital, again intended to improve ventilation and heating controls at CJ Hooker, and also looking at some opportunities at the high school, specifically focusing on the PA system, but also the possibility of either pivoting to the tennis courts or back to more ventilation improvements at CJ Hooker. Ms. Lamran has already begun work with Mr. McCardle on moving that process forward with Land Associates. But as the budget is fully funded now through the approval yesterday, that project work will move forward. So it was, we felt it was important to go through all this tonight. There's a lot of significant changes that will both affect operations of the district. It will affect end user pieces with some of the controls throughout the district. We wanted to make sure not only the board, but the community was well informed. So glad to answer any questions. We know we want to do things fairly quietly. We want to get, or quickly, we want to give a summary, but we can go back and readdress or answer any questions on anything that we went through tonight.
I just have one question, we might have done this already. We're looking at the number of free meals that we would anticipate, survey. Did we look at the numbers of during COVID when, to see, and it was only around 60%?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Mr. Isaac was the assistant director at the time. When we sat together this week, we specifically asked about that. I think it only peaked at about 65, maybe pushing 70%. Now that they're fully in person, things are a little bit more stable. He doesn't see an issue.
We did see an increase in our a la carte sales, so second meals, so that's what boosted our revenue up during those years.
Thank you.
So just a few general things regarding the universal free meals. Just curious, you said the application was in process to get approved for that. When is that application due?
June 30th.
June 30th.
Okay, and just moving backwards a little bit regarding the extension for the electric bus conversion. We talked about the CTL team helping to put together this application.
Yes.
Is there any cost associated with them doing that work?
No, there isn't. It's fully funded through NYSERDA, which is why we signed up for that.
And has there been any word from NYSERDA about number of applications that they will accept before they cap it?
Not yet. I think it's very new legislation, so I think there'll be more to come.
Okay. And regarding the mention of possible funding of 100 million, is that something that's officially published yet for grant applications?
So it came out as a line item in the budget. How they're going to allocate that money, we don't know yet, but there is $100 million that has been appropriated into the budget to be determined on how they're going to make that available to school districts.
And I think just as we move forward into the testing, training, and execution of the bus routes with the electric buses, it would be very interesting to hear along the way from the transportation side how that's going, how it's moving. You know, just some input on charging. It'll be interesting come the cold weather months, you know, some of those generalized concerns you hear about, how it's worked for us.
Just as a reminder on the buses, we put 2 chargers in. We spent about $20,000 to have the electricians come in and do the install at the bus garage. Our electricians have given us kind of a red flag to say you maybe have enough capacity to go to 1 more charger before you need a major upgrade to the service. So Ms. Lamron and I have been in conversation with Ms. Wells at the garage about if the possibility comes to get more grant money and to add 1 more to the fleet, that's it before a big project.
And then just moving backwards to the first point, the bell to bell ban. The committee is going to meet again and we'll be interested to hear what the feedback is from that committee. I think as we move closer, it will be helpful to also have a projected initial cost, maintenance cost of the yonder pouch. It was mentioned that that was something that Middletown used, not speculating that that will or will not be a recommendation, but that cost data will be helpful in decision making as well if we can start pulling that together.
We are, yeah.
Ms. Lamron, she's already done a pre-conference with Yonder, at least to know what the cost would be, so we already have that in hand, yeah.
We see
That's
what
great.
comes with it, and
All right, wonderful, thank you.
thank you, Carter, for pointing me there.
Okay, very good, and that will conclude for my report tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Sure. All right, moving on then. The Assistant Superintendent for Business Report.
Actually have my names with me next time, sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Lamron. All right, and then we have our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, Personnel, and Technology Report, Dr. Jason Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. Once again, good evening, everyone. I have nothing new to report this evening.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, then moving on, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have Brett and Scott. You resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education accepts the retirement of Nancy Weber, Assistant Principal effective July 1st, 2025. Ms. Weber has been with the district for 22 years. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the remainder of the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, good luck with all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
We need a motion to approve policy updates, second readings, renumbering, renaming, readoptions, and retirements. John and Ashley. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves second readings, renumbering, renaming, and readoptions of the policies as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I scanned over privilege of the floor. That wasn't necessarily intentional. I just skimmed past it. We do have one sign up. We do have just a couple more resolutions. They'll be quick. I didn't want anybody to think I forgot about them. All right, I just noticed that. So sorry about that. I hopped around a little bit. Again, not intentional. Need a motion to approve the 2025-2026 board meeting schedule. We have Scott, Brett. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the 2025-2026 board meeting schedule as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to accept the results of the annual election and vote on May 20th, 2025. We have Shannon, John. Be it resolved, the Board of Education accepts the results of the annual board member election and budget vote held on May 20th, 2025, and approves the minutes of said meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to accept the recommendations of the Committee of Special Education and Committee on Preschool Special Education. Ashley and Scott. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby arranges for the special education programs and services based upon the recommendations made for preschool and school-age students with disabilities by the Committee on Preschool Special Education, CPSE, and Committee on Special Education, CSE, during the period April 8th, 2025 through and including May 14th, 2025, and directs the district to arrange for the provisions of said special education programs and services to such preschool and school-age students with disabilities as recommended during such time period by the CPSE and CSE. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to accept the donations for the 9th Annual Elementary Special Olympics. We have John and Brett. Be resolved, the Board of Education does hereby accept with appreciation the following donations to support the 9th Annual Elementary Special Olympics on May 17th, 2025. Received from AccuCare Nursing, $500. Received from Goshen Rotary Club, $250, totaling $750. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education approves increasing the 2024-2025 budget to support the associated expenditures as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to approve the senior class of 2026 trip to Orlando, Florida. We have John and Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the high school senior class of 2026 trip to Orlando, Florida from April 16th through 19th, 2026. Be it further resolved that the board reserves the right to cancel or reschedule any school-sponsored trip or activity in the event of an emergency condition outside of the control of the school district in its sole discretion. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you for your patience. Moving on to our next privilege of the floor. We have Mary Beth Tyrell.
Thank you. Yes, I am Mary Beth Terrell. Is it on?
Press this one right there. There you go.
Okay, I have a pretty big one. Before I begin, I would just like to let the board and any of administration in attendance know that Saturday was an absolutely wonderful day. Hundreds of people together usually causes some issues, but there weren't any. It just really was a wonderfully organized day. The Olympians were wonderful, but I really have to comment on our middle and high school students. They inspired me and they gave me great hope for the future. They were amazing with these kids, absolutely amazing. And tonight, if anybody wants to lift their spirits, go to a unified basketball game. It is the best sporting event you will ever go to. These kids are just amazing, and Goshen won tonight. They won both their games. It was wonderful. So I'm here tonight. I work closely with the Goshen School District. Actually, I work with the school districts throughout the county because I work for the Alcohol and Drug Awareness Council of Orange County. And I am what they call a prevention educator. So I meet with kids that might have substance issues, even kids that don't. I do a lot of presentations and everything else. I do a lot here in Goshen. My son graduated here from the high school in 2021. A few months ago, a concerned parent sent me a Facebook post about the all-night party, which we're just talking about the class trip and all-night party. The committee for the all-night party was organizing right before Christmas a pub crawl. The pub crawl was to raise money to support an alcohol-free event. Okay, doesn't really make sense. I spoke with Dr. Coates and Principal Pantaleone. They understood my concern, and they told me that someone from the committee would call me. The person never called me. The event went on. Nothing happened, but it did go on. All right. Recently, I've been sent a number of messages from concerned parents. So now it's plural. The 2029 Booster Club, these kids are only in CJ Hooker right now, are sponsoring what they call a tap over. I found out what a tap over is. It's where a special host helps to bartend, and the tips and donations go to the class. So once again, we have a fundraiser for young people that's connected to alcohol. And I hate to say this, but the host of last Thursday's tap over was the mayor of Goshen. This is really sending a very poor message, not just to our kids, but to our community. These are kids that we're talking about. We should not have alcohol related to that. I would be more than happy. I know that the district doesn't oversee these committees. I know that these are separate from us, but everything that's posted online has Goshen on it. So I think that we really need to do something to get away from that. I would be more than happy to work with booster clubs, all-night committees. I've actually worked that numerous times at the mall when they do the all-night party. It's great. There is no alcohol. We check them when they come in. I'd be more than happy to work with any committees on coming up with other ideas of fundraising. But I really think that we need to take away the alcohol side of fundraising for our kids. Thank you for all you do, and hopefully you'll do something about this.
All right, thank you for sharing that. All right, do we have any board member issues, comments, items to discuss?
Hello, I have one thing to discuss. Actually, several things. One, remember that the students tonight playing the music did excellent. Last week, I had the pleasure to go to CJ Hooker for 3 nights in a row for the Festival of the Arts. Again, all the musicians, singers did an amazing job. There was one hiccup during the event on Thursday where we had a fire drill. I give kudos to Mr. Reese and all the staff who was there, you know, to get an auditorium full of adults with a real fire going off was definitely a task, and it was done very well. So my question is, for a follow-up, did we find out what caused or what triggered the alarm to go off? Is there any other investigation or cost or update that needs to be done for that?
Mr. McArdle, do you mind coming forward just to make this up for me?
Good evening. What happened was there was a sensor in one of the buildings that malfunctioned. It was basically a dead short from a resistor. We had Open Systems come in, who is our provide service for the alarms. And the sensor was replaced the following day. And we had one of the custodians, the lead custodian at night, stay overnight. The fire department took one of the zones offline that faulty sensor was in. And they made some passes through the passes past the building over the night. And we had a custodian in the building that stayed overnight just to monitor. So it was a faulty sensor. It's been replaced. The system is back online the following day. They did the repair, they tested it, they enabled everything, and the fire alarm was completely functional in all zones within 24 hours.
Thank you for the update.
I just wanted to share also regarding the Special Olympics. I was there as a coach for the district that I work at. And it was such a wonderful event. I think Goshen did such a great job hosting. The volunteers were phenomenal, and I share Ms. Tyrell's opinion. The student volunteers were just so spectacular. The way they were talking to the kids and encouraging them, it was wonderful. But it was such a positive. It was a long day, but it was a wonderful day, and I just think Goshen did such a great job. I was so proud of the community and of our kids and all the volunteers we have, so thank you.
Everyone's talked about the Special Olympics. The only thing, I was there also for the whole day alone, and all the volunteers, everyone said great. I just think I'd be remiss to say it was the PPS department that put it on. Brand new for Goshen, and they really did knock it out of the park. And not only coordinated it, but I watched them personally. They were sleeves rolled up, you know, getting everything together. So they did a great job.
Just want to echo all the same sentiments. They said all the good stuff already, but no, I honestly had the privilege of taking part in it, and it was a lot of fun. And I think that everybody involved did a really great job of keeping 200 or so kids moving, which was unbelievable. I was actually working with Ms. Tyrell, so if the basketball event was slow, it was her fault. But no, it was a lot of fun, and I'm very grateful for all the effort everybody put in. I mean, hearing about students being there late the night before, taping floors, you know, it was unbelievable to me how many middle school and high school students were there at 7 o'clock in the morning that morning, and happy to be there, you know, laughing, joking, having a good time. I'll echo that, you know, it does give hope, right? It's we have a lot of great kids in this district, and a lot of things come into this room that aren't about how great the kids are. So it was great to be part of an event and really see the fruits of everybody in this district's labors. So
Just to piggyback on that, since it's coming up, the students that were there all day, talking to many of them from 7 in the morning. Now, mind you, many of these students don't even need volunteer hours anymore for any of the extracurriculars they do. They're tapped out. They're there because they wanted to be there, and they were there all day. So that can't be emphasized enough. Student volunteers really showed up big time.
shameless plug, but several of those student volunteers will be playing for a section title on Friday. Good luck with the girls' flag football team.
Anything else? Wonderful. Just need a motion to close the meeting. We have John and Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.